Good evening, everyone. It's Mary, and I am back in Patrick's attic to bring you guys one of my latest children's book hauls. I found most of these a couple of weeks ago on a fairly extensive search between a couple of antique stores locally. We may go once every 6 months to this one place locally, Angel's Antiques. It's really, really large, so it takes a long time to get through, but these are some of the treasures that I picked up. You may have seen from one of my previous videos that I've done for Patrick here on the channel some of my other children's books, so some of you may be familiar with my collection to some degree. I really found some great stuff this last time, and all for really good prices. I thought I'd go ahead and just sort of dig in and show you, all the different things that I found and kind of tell you a little bit about why I chose to take these home with me. So I think I'll start with this one, which is actually the first thing I saw on this trip, and I was really excited about it. I'm a little torn about what I'm going to do with it. I don't know if you can see here, but the first thing I saw was this little knob, and I was like, what is that? It is a music box, and it's not working. It was sold as is. It was Mattel Music Maker Library. So these are all the different ones that they made. I would love to see these, and I would love to have one that actually worked. But this one is Oh Susanna. It was only $1. So I've never seen one of these before. I'm pretty excited. I think what I may do, since it was only $1, is I may try to carefully open up the box where the music box is hidden in and try to repair it. It's probably just something here is not connected. I feel like a music box is a fairly simple machine, and I think it might be repairable. There is some damage to the book. Obviously, the pages are very damaged, and that was, I'm sure, part of the reason why it was only $1. But, usually those things don't bother me at all, because what I'm most interested in are the illustrations. I don't know, one of my hobbies, as you might be able to tell from some of the things around my studio here, is I like to draw, and I like children's book style drawing. It's one of my hobbies, so this is very inspirational, and I like to look at, the vintage styles for inspiration. But these are just super great, and even if I can't repair the book, I feel like I have a shot of repairing the music box aspect of this. The illustrations and the colors in this are great. I really love stuff like that, where you have a very imaginative use of color. Animals are always a plus. I love this little guy over here. I do believe I have all of the pages. I never knew Oh Susanna was had so much drama. That looks pretty scary. So I guess it's like a storybook around the idea of the song, and then you're supposed to sing parts of the song and play the music box. I like how it's like, with my banjo on my knee. And this is copyright 1954. And it's made by Mattel. So very neat. Very, very neat. I was really glad to see this for just $1. I feel like I can, at that price point, I feel like I can tinker with it and not feel too bad about that. So very, very neat. I would love to see some of these others, like London Bridge, Baba Black Sheep, Mary Had a Little Lamb, and the Pussycat, especially. So that was this is the item that kind of started off my last treasure hunt. So pretty excited. The cover's in pretty good shape, actually, and the box is in good shape. The box that houses the music box is in good shape. So something's salvageable there. Another neat thing that I found is this activity book for children. It's a newsprint book, and it talks about it being an activity book, but it's really very I don't know if it's like activity books like we think now, like dot to dot and coloring. It's more educational, and it's nature activities and projects. So it is also 1954. You know, camping, and the table of contents talks about all kinds of stuff. A collecting net, a killing jar. I don't know what that is. That sounds brutal too. A relaxing jar. That sounds better. Know your leaves, know your trees, hints for hikers, seeds that travel by air. So it's kind of just educational overall. Kind of tells you like what to wear while camping, how to build a tent and pack a tent back in the 1950s sort of way. The binding on this is pretty terrible, and it's not in great shape, but you know, most of the time I don't care. I mostly got this because I think it was $1, and I just kind of wanted to look through it just for historical interest in a lot of ways. Know your leaves, witch hazel, parts of a tree, hints for hikers. And I guess this is where activities comes in. It's like collecting leaves and how to mount them and display them and things like that. Making toys out of pine cones. Some science stuff. I've never heard of a skunk cabbage before. Interesting. Birds. Hey kitty. Insects, butterflies. Oh, the relaxing jar. Specimen. Maybe it's the killing jar. A killing jar. That just. I just don't know if we would quite word it that way now. 1954 kids were probably just, you know, a little tougher in that regard, I guess. I don't know. I that doesn't make me want to collect insects at all. That makes me sad, but interesting. Hey, kitty. My cat is trying to get my attention, of course. But overall, it's pretty neat. I like how we go from like forest animals to like sea animals. I feel like most kids are not going to have access to one or other of these. It's like if you're in this area, yeah. But it's all about learning, right? Rock collections. And it kind of shows on the back other activity educational books in this series. Having a party, playing together, sewing, drawing, which is nice, There's the one that we have here, Nature, Paper Fun, Rockets, cookbooks, lots of things to do, things to make. So overall, kind of neat. Just neat to look at. So this is a series. All of these are Rand McNally. Oh, no, that was a Whitman's Telltale. Those are Whitman's, and these are Rand McNally's. All approximately the same size, but you see the Whitman's are just a little bit bigger. But these were all very, very inexpensive. $0.25, $1, 75 cents, 50 cents. And it's unusual to find them that cheap, even when they're in bad condition, because people really feel like there's some kind of value to these, that they're trying to get their value out of them. But they're really not in very good shape. But once again, I just get them because I love the illustrations. And I liked this one especially. Tommy Blake did a lot of writing in this book. Bad Tommy. But this little story was actually kind of interesting too. I always like to read the stories because they're a lot different than stories now, I think. And they're a little bit more mean-spirited sometimes. This was kind of an example of this. But this was one I really liked, how you go from limited color illustration to full color illustration. And this is basically about this a rooster and a hen live together in a house with a little mouse. And on another hill nearby was a family of foxes. And he's like, oh, over the hill I see a house. And in that house there lives a cock, a rooster. And the three little foxes are like, oh, those are nice and fat hens. Let's go get them, you know. And, you know, the rooster and the mouse were always kind of being lazy. So the hen was always like, well, I'll do it myself, you know, like, who wants to go get firewood? Who wants to go do this? And, you know, the rooster and the mouse are like, not me, not me. And the little hen's like, well, I'll do it myself. So she runs off and she does all her little things. And who will get breakfast ready? Not I, said the cock. Not, nor I, said the mouse. And I'll do it myself, said the little red hen. And, you know, so of course the rooster and the mouse, they ate the breakfast after all that work, you know. So the point of the story is that the little red hen's always doing something. She's always busy around the house. So when the foxes come over to kidnap them, she's busy while they're being lazy. So who gets caught? It's the rooster and the mouse get put into the fox's little bag there. And say, oh, I wish I hadn't been so cross, said the cock. Oh, I wish I hadn't been so lazy, said the mouse. Yeah, because they were all lazy. So the very smart little red hen, she goes and follows them back with a pair of scissors and cuts them out of the sack while the fox is taking a nap. So if she hadn't been busy doing something else, she would have been caught up in there too. But I just love the little illustrations, and I love that they go back and forth between these limited color and these full color. And I find it just so neat how that was actually a money-saving technique. It was so that they could print with fewer colors. Like this is all 4-color plates, and this is, you know, a 2-color plate, black and this kind of reddish orange. So it made the books less expensive. It also gives it some variety. I like it. So a 15-cent book back in the day. I got it for $1. A nice little story. Like I said, kind of harsh. but you know, teaches you a lesson about not being lazy. So, neat little book. This one was Mrs. Duck's Lovely Day. This one's just $0.25, which is only 10 cents more than what it was when it came out. Once again, Tommy took a pen to this book, but we'll forgive Tommy. I just really like, this one is all full color, but I like the little animals. You see the little grasshopper and the birds and the turtle with his little sailor hat on, because that makes sense. Just very nice. And oh, she's in the water. She's at the beach, and you know that's a little much for a duck. But in the end, she's happy to be back on her little pond. And this one was only 75 cents. And, you know, anytime there's little animals illustrated, I like the pages with the creative typography as well. That's kind of nice. It's nice to see those things happening for good reason to go along with the illustration. Lots of nice little wildlife illustrations. It's a nice one. And then we have Stubby. Randy Blake. Oh, this must have been Tommy's brother. Maybe he didn't write in his books as much as Tommy did. I really like that style quite a lot. These are very nice. Stubby's face is kind of creepy. I thought the illustrations were pretty nice. I especially like the end paper here and here. But yeah, those are some of the smaller books that I found. This is a very common size to find. I've gotten pretty good at recognizing the binding from a distance. I can see that paper binding. It's pretty annoying but not uncommon for people to put stickers like this directly on the very delicate paper. I've just kind of leave it because trying to remove it usually does a lot of damage, so I just try to leave it. It's unfortunate though. I guess they just have no other way of marking their stuff without it being something that someone could pull off and put with something else. But I think if it was a quarter, I'd probably just, you know, figure out a way to not put a sticker on it. But it is what it is. The backs of these are pretty nice too. Kind of shows you all the other options and stories. They have a little checklist. It'd be nice to actually check those off. Have some more of these from the collection. These three are all similar size. These are all Wonder Books, washable Wonder Books, washable covers. These are each $1 as well. Oh, that one was 75 cents. Just pretty good finds. Oh, this is Randy Blake. He didn't write in his books as much. Once again, I like all the illustrations. It's my main reason for getting these. I like their little wedding picture up there in their house. It's cute. And Daddy Raccoon with all his fishing gear. And here are some of the other books that you can get. So that was Baby Raccoon. So this is spring. The Hopwells. You can see the sewn in binding, which is kind of unusual for such a small book, but it makes them fairly fragile. This one's very delicate. The paper is getting very brittle. But everything's in good enough condition for me to enjoy. What's for breakfast? Yeah, this one's in rough shape as well. Oh, real kitty coming to join us. And you can see how that binding is not holding up very well at all. So I've got two more sort of animal-based books. This is another Whitman Tale, but this is a big tale, just the bigger size. I think it might have a few more words. This is, I really love this one and the illustrations. I love the little stylized animals. And this one's neat because it goes from having sort of like landscape pastoral scenes to some more compartmentalized, idealized sort of illustrations. I'll kind of show you what I'm talking about. So you have like the pastoral scenes where you have like the barn and the chickens out there, and I love the little cat over the tree and the birds and everything. Pages are really thick on this one. And then you have your details where the story is about that particular moment. And then you have things like this. I really like this spread in particular. We've got the pig in his house, and he's talking about his food, and it's kind of just in this little compartment over here, representational to what he's doing, but it's not like a pile of food, you know. Same thing with the barn being shown from this angle, and then the pasture of goats that are next to it being shown not in dimension but pictorially, so to speak, which, you know, it's quite different from this. It's a different way to illustrate it, and they all go together. I really like it, and I like how we've got you know, this typography placed inside of the layout and everything. Then you go back to the more pastoral, which I love, the watercolor type effects. It's very soft and nice. This book has very thick, nice pages. The material is almost like a thicker cotton, almost like money, where it feels like it has something besides just cotton woven into it, and it's very strong. The binding is still strong on this. Has metal staples, so it is a very stout little book. I really like that too. It's very nice. There's a predator bird. The hawk is trying to get him, I guess. There's more of that sectioning off again, different perspectives. So that, I really liked this animal illustration style, probably the best out of any of the ones that I got that day. So one of the last animal books I got was kind of I would say that this one is probably more low end almost than some of the other ones. There's no big name on this. It has like library book binding. It's terrible binding. It probably had a dust jacket over it at some point. But it was only $2, and I'm a sucker for any cat books. Someone drew a lovely face in it. Freddie the Curious Cat. It's almost like self-published. And look at his giant paws. Like they talk about that in the text. So I feel like the author, who is also the illustrator, was probably inspired by a cat they had that had giant paws. So they drew him that way. I mean, he looks like he was a polydactyl cat that had extra toes. Our cat that we used to have was polydactyl, and he had quite a lot of extra toes. So I understand that. So this was published by Doubleday, so 1958. First edition. I liked the limited color. And just the way that the cat is done, even if he's and his giant feet are kind of goofy. I did like the style of it. Looks like every other spread is color. Once again, that's a money-saving technique. I really liked the snake as well. I thought he was nicely done in the flowers. It's a very nice spread there. Hello, Fiona. It's also pretty nice. Got a hummingbird. And the beetle. And it was a library book. So, I got that one. The last two that I have are interesting because they're a little bit more, they're more artistic, kind of spooky. I've never seen anything quite like either of them, and I was pretty excited when I found them. I'll start with, this one is called The Enchantress, and it's a little longer than your typical children's book. It's probably more for a higher reading level, but I got it because of the absolutely amazing illustrations, all black and white. You can see the same illustration back here. It's Gibraltar library binding. Good sturdy book. But I honestly, I need to read this book. It's called The Enchantress. And you can see there's a lady in a cage on the front. So it's kind of a fairy tale type book. But the illustrations are quite nice and fantastically dreamy. And kind of just, you know, I don't know, they're kind of spooky. People's faces are kind of spooky. So I honestly have not read this, but I was so intrigued by the story, by the illustrations, that I just knew I would enjoy the story. This is the one that I saw first, and I was like, I need to buy this book just for this alone. I actually originally was like, I think I'm going to buy it just to pull this page out and frame it because I love it so much. It's just weird. And I may still like do something with it or scan it in, and I don't know. I want that framed somewhere. I mean, what in the world? So that is what made me want to buy this book and read it. And I'm so glad that I did. One of these days I just need to sit down and read the book. It shouldn't take me long. But yeah, it's very dreamy and fantastical, and soft. Such soft illustrations. This is also very nice, sturdy paper. This book was made to last for sure. So 1960. So this is a pretty old book, and it's in great shape. Yeah, it doesn't say what printing or whatever, but yeah, I would say 1960 would be about accurate. But it's in great shape, so I'm looking forward to actually reading that one. And my last is my absolute favorite from this whole haul. And the biggest reason is because of the illustrations. Are very unique. They're painted. It's definitely a painting. It's called The Old Devil Wind by Bill Martin Jr., paintings by Robert J. Lee. And this is also an old library book discard, but it's another example of a book that's still in really good condition. But it's so painterly and so artistic, and you definitely don't see it a whole lot anymore, but this is, I mean, it's almost creepy, and you don't see that kind of illustration anymore. But I mean, I just love that, how painterly it is. And I don't know if it picks up on this or not, but you can still see kind of like the canvas marks from where they painted it and photographed it for reproduction in the book. So this is a 1970 copyright. So you have by the story by Bill Martin Jr., paintings by Robert J. Lee, and then lettering by Ray Barber. So this was hand lettered as well. So it's all just a big artistic, just beautiful. And it is supposed to be creepy. It's about like, it was a dark and stormy night kind of thing, and the wind began to wail, and the ghosts and floating, and you can see the birds. It's just very good at ghostly images. I mean, look at that face and the teeth. And you can just kind of feel yourself in a dark house. I mean, that's a scary ghost face. And faces and mirrors and things like that. And I think this is one of my favorites. Just look at the way this rat is scampering across the floor. You can just sort of feel him. It's a great way to illustrate that sort of feeling of dread and doom. The bats. The crow. It makes me want to explore this creepy old mansion myself. And kind of this dreamy, the double vision feeling that you would have if you were, sort of scared and didn't understand what was going on. That feeling is throughout, and I think that's really neat. You think you're seeing something. The layout is amazing. I love this one. It's, you know, part realistic and painterly, and it's also all of these unique framing techniques with swooshes and swooshes here, that kind of stuff. Spotlight feelings. It's all very nice. All of this. Interesting framing. It makes for a sort of chaotic, spooky feel. Faces. This is very nice. So that was definitely my favorite find, because it was just very unique, very painterly, and very artistic, and strikingly different from something like this, which I love as well. But I'm always looking for unique books, and this definitely was one of them. But I hope you enjoyed coming along with me as I kind of took a look at my latest haul, and I hope you enjoyed what you saw. If you'd like to see more of these kind of videos, just let me know, and I hope you guys have a great night. Bye.